Namaste and welcome viewers. This is Mirror Prime. It's me Ashish Pareek, and in some major news from the world of cricket, Jay Shah has been elected unopposed as the independent chair of the International Cricket Council. He's also to begin his term on December 1st. Not just this, he's also the fifth Indian to get this role, and at the age of 35, he will also be the youngest individual to hold this prestigious position. In fact, Jay Shah was the sole candidate and he was endorsed by a significant majority of ICC directors. Upon his election, Jay Shah made a commitment to broaden cricket's global reach, and in fact, he also called for the need to balance formats and also embrace new technologies and expand marquee events to new markets. Right. We'll be discussing this and a lot more. And again, this is again a very important thing that's happening for Indian cricket as well. My colleague Ritangshu is joining us on the broadcast live from the studio. Ritangshu, just give us a lowdown about what exactly happened there at the ICC meeting. Jay Shah, of course, has emerged as the new ICC chair, and lots more important things have also happened, including the fact that not just a couple of boards, but he had the support of a lot of cricketing boards.
Yes, indeed. Good evening to our viewers as well. Not that he needed that support because technically he was elected unopposed because his predecessor decided to not stand for a third term. But you're right, Ashish. Jay Shah did get the near unanimous support of a lot of the boards, including especially the Sera nations of South Africa, England, New Zealand, and Australia. The same countries where a lot of people sometimes voice their opposition towards the predominance of India in cricketing affairs of the world. He also got a lot of support from the Bangladesh board, or what our source is telling us, also from the Sri Lankan board as well. So there was a unanimous support coming in for Jay Shah. And it's important to put his achievements into context, Ashish. I know he's a figure, a lot of social media speculation, a lot of discussion, a lot of debate over Jay Shah. But the fact still remains that in his tenure, first as ICC, as BCCI figurehead, and then also as chairman of the Asian Council, Jay Shah did take both these cricketing bodies from strength to strength. Revenue, while yes, India did get a lion's share of the revenue, but overall cricketing revenues for all nations, the entire pot has increased. He has also been responsible for a lot of key reforms such as the women's IPL, also bringing in pay parity between male and female cricketers. He has also ensured, or at least made his priority to bring cricket back. He's one of those people who have been credited for getting cricket back into the Olympics, which is a big feat because in the next Olympics in Los Angeles, cricket will be back. So these are a lot of achievements which Jay Shah has brought and in his short tenure so far as head of, as in de facto head of the BCCI as well as that of the Asian Cricketing Council. So on paper, he does have his credentials speak for themselves, which is why he did get the near unanimous support of his peers from across the other cricketing boards.
Absolutely, Ritangshu. Like you rightly pointed out, he was, of course, the de facto head of the BCCI, and it was interesting to see how the BCCI president, in fact, had taken a backseat with Saurav Ganguly or Roger Binney, and he seemed to be the man actually calling shots. Appreciate you joining us on the broadcast there, getting us details about what exactly happened at the ICC meeting. Also joining us on the broadcast are our guests for the panel today, Vedam Jaishankar, who's a sports journalist, and also Chandresh Narayanan, who's an author and a sports broadcaster. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. We are talking about Jay Shah. He's, of course, pretty much always been the point of discussion. Vedam, let me start with you now. Jay Shah has become the fifth Indian ever and the youngest to grab the top job in the cricket world. What does this mean for cricket?
Actually, it means a lot, Ashish, because if you look back at what had happened, the dark period of Indian cricket was when the COA were running cricket in India. At that time, there was a move to make a big three, and have a bigger purse for the big three, form separate purse for them, and a whole lot of changes were supposed to be there. But somebody in the COA, the four-member panel, spoke out of turn and said, no, we will not boycott. Actually, we were not going to boycott the World Cup. It was just that held out so that the BCCI could have its way. But people in that COA spoke out of turn, and the whole thing was a mess. We were kept out of the committee, which really took a decision. Anyway, that's now water under the bridge. So we have now come to this stage where Jay Shah, of course, will continue having a hold over the BCCI for a variety of reasons, unlike some of the previous presidents who actually, once they moved out of BCCI, were actually struggling to retain control. But he may not have that kind of a problem.
Correct.
But what happens here, two big things are happening. One, of course, is the Olympics, 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, where cricket is part of it for the first time ever. The second thing is the $15 million fund that they have for the test playing nations. That is the big three, India, Australia, and England. They want to give about $10,000 per player per test for the other teams. And that's a good thing so that the interest in test cricket is retained. And Jay Shah will have to
Absolutely.
work towards that. These are the two big things. And of course, immediately as soon as it is over, there is a challenge for the Champions Trophy. It's supposed to be held in Pakistan. I don't think whether India would go at all. Maybe
in fact, Vedam will get to all of those points. Let's get to all of those points one by one there. Of course, a lot of challenges there that Jay Shah will have to handle. In fact, Chandresh, keeping political biases aside, you look at what Jay Shah has done and you have to say that he's done a commendable job with his role with the BCCI, be the pay parity in Indian cricket, the WP, the new NCA, and even the fact that he's managed to have good relations with almost every cricketing board.
Yeah, and that comes with the territory. Ashish, you have a role to perform, and in that role, you have to maintain relations with every cricket board. And it's not new. Just Jay Shah, every person who's been in charge of BCCI over the years has had very good relations with other cricket boards. There was a time when the Asian bloc in the 80s and 90s was the talking point, and that led to the democratization of cricket worldwide. And Dalmia becoming the first ever Indian to head the ICC. So I think we've always had very good relations with all the cricket boards, and that has continued. And I think that that's a good thing. And I think the biggest challenge for Jay Shah now, when he becomes the ICC chairman, is that he needs to be there as ICC's independent chairman and not India's chairman of the ICC, because the game has to grow. And it can't depend just on India banking the game. There has to be, like Vedam said, a bigger picture, the Test Cricket Fund, the way the franchise leagues are mushrooming all over the world. He needs to look at that. Women's cricket, the future of Test cricket, future of ODI cricket.
Absolutely.
He'll have been on all the other cricket
boards.
boards.
Chandresh, you made a very good point there. Like you said, one of Jay Shah's biggest challenges will be to offset the allegations that India is dominant as far as world cricket is concerned, and India actually falls so short as far as very crucial decisions are concerned.
Ashish, I'm not saying that as an allegation. I'm just saying that the game can't survive on one country. There has to be a bigger play from other countries, and for that, like Vedam said, the Test Cricket Fund is going to be a very big factor. Otherwise, you'll have Test teams just falling off without any reason, just like it's happening in West Indies. It's happening. You're seeing what's happening with Pakistan. Test cricket, it will keep happening because there's been a vacuum in leadership in the game. I hope Jay Shah will provide that leadership over here.
Absolutely. Independent leadership, like Chandresh pointed out, that's something that a lot of fans across the cricketing world will be expecting as well. You were talking about the Pakistan and the Champions Trophy. Let me come back to that because I know you really want to talk about it, and a lot of fans also want to understand exactly what India's stance is going to be, because how closely will Pakistan be following Jay Shah's elevation, because of the fact that India, right now, the current scenario, India doesn't look very keen on going there for the Champions Trophy. And Jay Shah at the helm, there could be quite a few worried people in the PC.
There would be, because I can't see India traveling to Pakistan at all, either for this Champions Trophy or anything in the foreseeable future. And it is not just because of the cricketing aspects of it or the safety aspects of it. There's a lot of other baggage which goes with it, a lot of political heft that is required. And I don't think Jay Shah alone will be able to handle that. And it's not possible. The public opinion will be overwhelmingly against India going to Pakistan. That can't happen. But Chandresh made a very important point about India alone trying to take it forward. He is right, because there was a time when you had the veto power, and it was Dalmia who smashed the veto power of England and Australia. Till then, the cocks of the walk, the chairman was always from them, and the others had no other option. But now it's become a lot more democratic. There's a lot more movement, but still, India controls. It's common sense. Yeah, he who controls the gold controls the whole thing. And obviously, we provide 80% of the game's finances. But yes, we need to ensure that others also get into the thing, which is why this test fund is there. Likewise, every alternate World Cup coming to India for staging is also a very good move. And it's a T20I World Cup, which can be rotated a bit. But the One World Cup, the other things, India has to have its place there. And whether Jay Shah would ensure not only India gets to it, but also that the other nations get an equitable chance, one, to host India. And if that is not possible, at least like this test fund, there'll be a whole lot of money for the other teams for them to stay interested. Otherwise, like the West Indies, the West Indies players are so well sought out all over the world for the T20I cricket, but they're not interested in playing cricket. They're not really interested in playing for West Indies at all. So that has to change, really.
Absolutely.
So before Afghanistan or Sri Lanka,
in fact, let's go a bit more here as far as the Pakistan Champions Trophy is concerned. Chandresh, what do you think happening? What do you think is going to happen? Because again, at the end of the day, we don't see India right now, given the circumstances, India going to Pakistan. Pakistan has already begun full-scale preparations for the Champions Trophy. So it's difficult to see Pakistan being denied the right to host. So then, Jay Shah, what do you think are the options in front of him?
I think the options are pretty clear. And Pakistan has placed it on the table themselves. But demolishing the stadiums and trying to upgrade it. Seriously, I don't think that that the stadiums are ready in time for the Champions Trophy. I think that that's going to be a big challenge for the Pakistan Cricket Board. In any case, I don't understand.
Exactly, you were looking at the pictures also a couple of days back, Chandresh. Sorry to interrupt you, but if you look at the pictures also of the stadiums in Pakistan, they absolutely don't look ready, and you just don't understand how stadiums of such size can be actually renovated when you just have started the demolition now.
And also the other big point is something that someone needs to tell me. When you decided in 2017 that you're going to not do anything with Champions Trophy, why bring that tournament back? And that too in a format that everybody is saying is not going to last the distance. India, for all its heft, is playing just 6 ODIs before the Champions Trophy. So I think that the format and the tournament itself doesn't make any sense to me. Plus the stadium not getting ready. I think the coast would be clear for Mr. Jay Shah to take and the ICC board to take a decision on this particular tournament, because I think this is a non-starter as far as I'm concerned, because the format itself doesn't warrant a second tournament when the world is moving towards T20 and, dare I say, T10. So I think that's a bigger question about the state of the format of the game, bigger than Champions Trophy, and that itself will take care of the decision on this particular topic.
Absolutely. In fact, talking about formats that won't last very long, Test cricket has also been under the scanner for a long time now. Vedam, help me understand one of the responsibilities, not just duties, but also responsibilities of Jay Shah as ICC chair is going to be ensuring that Test cricket is still active, because the WTC, the World Test Championship, has brought in some interest as far as Test cricket is concerned. But when it comes to revenue, except for the big three, India, England and Australia, none of the teams actually making any money out of Test cricket. So how exactly is ICC going to do that? Because Test fund is spoken about. So clearly a lot of responsibility on that.
Yes, absolutely. What happens is this World Cup, that is the ODI World Cup, the T20 World Cup, and of course the Test Championship, these are the ICC properties. And ICC needs to ensure that they get maximum money out of it to run cricket worldwide. So I'm not so sure whether they'll do away with any format, because right now they're making money out of all 3 formats. There may not be some great interest, but they've got some sort of a formula where every alternate tournament comes to India every year. So, maybe not this one, the next one will come back to India. So that way there's some sort of interest maintained, and a lot of money also comes rolling in. And at this time, to grow the money, grow the game, you need a lot of money. And obviously the money is going to come from India. So as I see it, the Test Championship is a great idea, but to keep that going and to keep the interest of the nations going, the Test Fund which has been set up, it's a start. $10,000 per test per player is a start. And I'm sure over a period of time that could really grow. But again, $10,000 is not a small sum of money. That's a huge sum of money, especially for countries in
Correct.
like West Indies or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka or even Pakistan. That's huge money. I think that's a good start. They will all try and play Test cricket now, and as and when the purse grows and they are able to build on it, I'm sure the interest in Test cricket will be invigorated much better and much quicker. And Jay Shah, 25-year-old businessman, he understands the game, he understands money, he understands finances, and I'm sure he'll be really upping the ante to ensure that there is more and more money, especially for smaller countries and for the players of the smaller countries.
Absolutely. I think the concern also lies in the point that you made, Vedam. You said Jay Shah is a 35-year-old businessman, good with money. He understands the revenue and other things as well. But also that brings in the question of whether Test cricket will survive the demands of the modern day cricket. In fact, you talk about revenue, you talk about other things as well. And speaking of Jay Shah, Vedam, Jay Shah was appointed as the president of the Asian Cricket Council. He then became the chairman of the Finance and Commercial Affairs Committee at the ICC. And in fact, this is where he managed to get India a significant share of the revenue for the BCCI. Again, how much of that is going to be a responsibility as well? Because we look at India, Indian advertisers almost contribute to 85% of the revenue of ICC, if I'm not wrong. But the share of India is around 38.5%. If you look at it as a wholesome figure, India is at a disadvantage even now.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have to find out somewhere where money can even flow to the other nations because they're really choked for funds. And India is the largest market. I don't mean just for cricket, even economically, it's the largest market. And everybody wants to have a share of the Indian pie. So the market is going to grow bigger and bigger. And the cricket market also will grow bigger and wider, even as the Indian diaspora spreads out to other. In whatever way you look at it, yes, money will flow from Indian coffers, but 38% of that is quite a lot of money. But maybe you'll try to build on it with other properties. IPL is a classic example of the other property and bilateral series. So India will grow that, but at the same time, ICC also needs to ensure that it can take a part of the proceeds and grow the game in the other countries. And as long as the game grows, everybody profits. But otherwise, if the game doesn't grow and shrinks, then India will also lose out.
Absolutely, Vedam. In fact, one of the examples for me of Indian dominance, the dominance of Indian advertisers was when I was watching the highlights of India versus South Africa. As far as the T20 World Cup final is concerned, I looked at South Africa's T-shirt and it had the Amul logo on it. That goes on to show the, the manner in which India actually, how important India is for the world game as well. And also this will go on to dictate how India decides what it wants to do with the Champions Trophy. And again, the big picture and all the focus is going to be on Jay Shah as well. Vedam, appreciate you joining us on the broadcast for this discussion. Of course, a lot in store for world cricket and Indian cricket over the next few years as Jay Shah now takes over the responsibility as the youngest ever chairman of the ICC.